And thank you for joining us tonight, everyone. I'm Kayla Gaskins. The drama in the aftermath of a June protest at the Portsmouth Confederate Monument continues.
We've been lucky so far out here as far as rain concerns. That wind, though, is whipping up pretty good. And as you can see, the Chesapeake Bay's got some white caps going.
Why did the sheriff's office only release 20 seconds? Why was it heavily redacted? That's something that a lot of people have been asking. We asked Sheriff Wooten that this morning. Here's an excerpt from our interview this morning as he explains.
Well, it's the last thing you probably want to hear right now, but flu season is just around the corner and medical experts are asking you to be prepared.
We're on the north side of the Bass Knight Bridge right now, and if you're traveling down NC 12, this is as far as you can go. They hope to vaccinate 1,250 people here just today. One of those shots is going to be going to Pam. She is a vaccinator herself and a nurse. Tom here, this is his 100th vaccine that he has given out. It's going to Pam. Pam, how are you feeling?
Great. Nathan, thanks. And Jeff, he was just talking about breaking curses in racing. I feel like we're breaking a rain curse coming up this week. We finally get some sunshine.
Yeah, we're going to get some sunshine.
Well, there are two sides to this. There are those who say the controversial post is simply a matter of free speech. And then there are others who say that those in positions like Dr. Ewell, the dean at a university, should be held to higher professional standards and that comments like his shouldn't be tolerated. They said the cops don't know where we're going, so we're just going to go any which way. Well, where did they decide to go? We just figured it out. They have crossed over this bridge. The bridge is now shut down on East Elizabeth Street.
A teenager in Ohio is using a dash of skills, a pinch of creativity, and a whole bunch of determination to make a difference in the world of cancer research.
So this is where the survivors are being brought after first responders and officials are done interviewing them at the scene. They're brought here to Princess Anne Middle School, and this is where their families are waiting for them.
Well, 10 on Your Side obtained a copy of the Virginia State Police report. It cites excessive speed and lack of experience.
And we are continuing to cover concerns at a local correctional facility. Earlier this week, we reported on complaints from inmates at St. Bride's Correctional Center in Chesapeake.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk today about doing the right thing. They definitely think that the district attorney here is mishandling this case as of now, which is why they want it headed over to the state.
And our team coverage on the severe flooding continues in Newport News. This is video of high water in the Colony Pines neighborhood.
Where we're standing right now on this giant mound of sand actually used to be someone's backyard. In the past year, though, the sand has just crept forward and forward and forward about 30 feet, taking over backyards and threatening homes.
And 10 on Your Side is your back to school station. All this week, we're helping you get your kids ready for school, whether that's in class or virtual.
The minute that the autopsy report was released, you could hear the crowd that had gathered around the attorneys. They started yelling. They started, calling it murder, calling for justice. The Black Panthers did show up, as Jason mentioned, right before the autopsy report was released. They came out here with a megaphone to make sure that their message was heard. Now, the crowd today is noticeably smaller than yesterday. I know you'll remember we were out here. There were people camped out since 6 a.m. So the crowd is definitely smaller, but they are equally as passionate. Another reminder, Elizabeth City is still under a state of emergency.
10 on Your Side's Kayla Gaskins just got done interviewing the sheriff. Kayla, what did he tell you this morning?
Well, he had a lot to say this morning and also a lot that he couldn't say. If you'll remember through our coverage, there's been a lot of signs, a lot of chants. Where is Wooten? We asked him about that, and he said that he hasn't been out here in public for days because he had nothing new that he wanted to add, so he didn't want to make anything worse by just re-saying the same thing over and over again and making the crowd even more frustrated. But he does say that he has no plans to resign.
Kayla, I do have a question for you. One thing that attorneys for the Brown family mentioned yesterday was that even though the sheriff does not have the power to release that video, he could have petitioned a judge much earlier. So they said if the sheriff feels his deputies were in the right here, why not petition for that video to be released right away? Why wait until now? Did he talk about that?
He said he's filing his petition as soon as he can and as soon as it made sense to do so. So not a lot of clarity on that, but he did say that he was working in his fastest capacity to get the video released. And he said something he's learned through all of this is how frustrating North Carolina's laws are. He wants the public to be reminded it's not up to him. It's up to the judge to get the video out there. So he is saying he is acting as fast as possible in his capacity.
Tom and Anita, we have new information since our last report. We did hear back from the company who oversees the property in question. Their response in just a few moments. This story centers around Virginia Beach resident Andrew Garrison's concerns about crime when a bullet shot through his bathroom wall just feet from his sleeping children. Hearing gunshots in the middle of the night is something Andrew Garrison never wants to get used to. How close was this to hitting either your wife or your kids?
About 3 feet to the left, it's in my kid's room, and 5 feet down, it would have killed my son.
A few feet in the opposite direction, and Garrison says the shot could have hit him or his wife.
But it's too close to home for me. A bullet came in my house, and I don't live peacefully anymore.
Could curbing gun violence be as simple as fixing a few light bulbs? Garrison thinks so.
There's a security light right there that is out, that's been out for 2 years. It's very dark back here, and it's just inviting crime.
The lights Garrison is referring to are at the Baker Crossing apartments directly behind his property. He says he's tried for weeks to get Drucker and Falk, the company that manages the property, to come and fix the lights. He says they haven't, and now he feels the company doesn't care about his family's safety.
I would appreciate it if somebody felt like they were concerned for us.
We went to the Drucker and Falk offices in Newport News and were told the woman who oversees that property wasn't in. However, she did respond later to one of our emails saying the community, along with the assistance of hired off-duty Virginia Beach police officers, complete routine lighting inspections of all buildings. Our lighting is operational, and when an issue arises, it's repaired quickly. The Garrisons, however, say the lights have not been fixed. Andrew Garrison also told us he has had enough of feeling unsafe in his home and is ready to move. Reporting in the newsroom, Kayla Gaskins, 10 on your side.
Now, from the station on your side, you're watching WAVY News 10 on Fox 43.
And thank you for joining us tonight, everyone. I'm Kayla Gaskins. The drama in the aftermath of a June protest at the Portsmouth Confederate Monument continues. And it's been less than a week since Police Chief Angela Green announced charges against 14 people, including Senator Luis Lucas, in connection to a June protest. Now, a call for the police chief's resignation could lead to charges for the vice mayor. 10 on your side's Tamara Scott continues our coverage tonight. Well, Tamara, thank you. And new tonight, former Lieutenant Governor John H. Hager has died at the age of 83. Hager, a former tobacco executive, was lieutenant governor from 1998 to 2002. He served in the Army and devoted much of his life to public service. Hager was diagnosed with polio in 1973 and lived the rest of his life in a wheelchair. He's being remembered by Virginia politicians as a statesman and dedicated public servant. And tomorrow marks 1 month since someone shot and killed 9-year-old Micaiah Slade in Chowan County. It happened while she and her mother were driving on US 17. 10 on your side, Zanabet Neshi followed up today with her family about getting answers. And the family says they continue to stay in touch with detectives. Earlier this month, investigators released this footage of an SUV they're trying to track down. If you've seen the vehicle, contact the Chowan County Sheriff's Office, or you can leave a tip at the anonymous tip line. We have those numbers for you on our website, WAVY.com. And we are tracking the latest coronavirus case counts. Virginia reported less than 900 new cases today. That's a drop from the last 2 days. Hampton Roads also saw a drop in new cases today. Hospitalizations are trending downward in the Commonwealth. The percent of tests coming back positive is steady at around 6.5%. Meanwhile, North Carolina saw a drop in hospitalizations today. They are now less than 900 people in the hospital. Because of COVID-19, the state also reported another drop in new cases, reporting 1,400. The percent of tests coming back positive is hovering at around 7%. And now looking ahead to tomorrow, several universities will start their fall semesters. Regent University, Virginia Wesleyan, and Rappahannock Community College have all adopted their own safety guidelines, which you can find right now on WAVY.com. Norfolk State begins its fall semester on Wednesday. Faculty and staff will have remote classes for the first 2 weeks. Then on August 29th, Old Dominion University and Christopher Newport University start classes. Both are holding some in-person classes and allowing students to live in dorms. There are options for those who don't feel comfortable taking classes in person. And 10 on your side is your back-to-school station. All this week, we're helping you get your kids ready for school, whether that's in class or virtual. Many private schools in our area are opening their doors this week. Students can expect lots of changes to the buildings and routines. At Christ the King in Norfolk, colorful carpet squares show where to stand for social distancing, and signs remind students to wear and not share their masks. Our Stephanie Harris will show you what else the private school is doing to protect students and staff tomorrow morning on WAVY News 10 Today. Also this week, you'll learn how to create a space for homeschooling, get parenting tips, information on immunizations, and how they plan to feed the thousands of kids who qualify for free lunch. Stephanie's Back to School reports air all this coming week, beginning on WAVY News 10 at 6 a.m. And we are just getting started here at 10. Coming up, searching for clues. Elizabeth City Police are investigating 3 deaths that happened this weekend. What we're learning about those investigations.
Yeah, we're live at Princess Anne Middle School, and this has been turned into a reunification center. So this is where the survivors are being brought after first responders and officials are done interviewing them at the scene. They're brought here to Princess Anne Middle School, and this is where their families are waiting for them. We have state police here on scene. We also have Virginia Beach Police, and we have, I saw Suffolk Fire Department, some other volunteer fire departments here as well, and also a lot of chaplains. A lot of religious leaders here to talk to families and help them through this unspeakable tragedy. And a lot of this tragedy, we're starting to get answers as time goes by, but a lot of this is unknown. And a lot of people waiting inside here still might not have answers. As the chief said in his press conference just now, upwards of 90 family members have come here to Princess Anne Middle School, waiting for answers, waiting to see their loved ones again. For some of them, it was a happy reunion. We spoke to one man who was texting his fiancée during the whole ordeal. She worked in Municipal Building 2. She actually worked on the floor that the shooter was on. Here's what he had to say.
When she texted me, in the text message, she's like, he's on my floor, the shooter's on my floor. One of the main things I made sure I got out was like, I love you, just in case, I didn't want anything, but I was like, I love you, and I'm on my way.
So he came here to reunite with her. That was good news. She ended up being okay. So many today ended up not being okay, and so many are still waiting for answers. While we were out here, another woman showed up to check on one of her neighbors. She said that her neighbor doesn't have any family in the area, and they check in on each other every now and then. She said she hadn't heard from her all day, and she'd been trying to get in contact with her, so she was very, very concerned. She still doesn't know if her neighbor is okay or not, and that's the story for a lot of people right now as those answers continue to roll in.
Well, Tom and Anita, after their house burned down, all the Zitos wanted to do was build the same house in the same spot on the beach. But the state and local government says they can't do that because of building restrictions put in place after they bought their home. The Zitos are now taking the case to federal court.
Outer Banks, Outer Banks. Every single picture is Outer Banks.
Kathy Zito's scrapbook tells it all.
Every single summer.
Her and her family's love of Nags Head is right here in pictures of family vacations, creating countless memories.
We went there every summer with our family.
They loved it so much, they bought this house right on the beach, a house she and her husband, Michael, hoped to spend their golden years in.
The ocean front really caught our eye. That's what we love.
That was until 2016 when the phone rang at 2 a.m. Kathy answered.
I immediately panicked that it was one of our children who no longer, one's at college and the other 2 are away, but it was the fire chief.
Their beach house had caught fire. It was a total loss. After an investigation, the Nags Head Fire Department listed the cause as inconclusive. The fire happened during the tail end of Hurricane Matthew, just minutes after power had been restored. The Zitos had their nephew go check on the damage.
He went over there that morning and took some pictures. And one of the photos shows the sunrise over the ocean with just our house completely burned down.
Fires are devastating, but homes can be rebuilt, can't they? For the Zitos, the answer is no.
We said we want to build the exact same house in the exact same spot. We're not going to change anything. We don't want to add up. We don't want to add, size.
The local and state government won't grant permits to rebuild because the land is now part of an ocean hazard area of environmental concern, or an AEC.
The zone was established after they bought the property in 2008. Hazard areas include places like beaches and are subject to excessive erosion and flood damage. The magic number to build is 180 feet from the vegetation line. The Zito's home sits 12 feet from the line. These aerial views from Drone 10 help illustrate the Zito's frustration. The Zitos aren't a special case. If any of their neighbors' houses are destroyed, they can't rebuild either.
Not being able to rebuild there, would have never, ever crossed my mind. It makes no common sense to me whatsoever.
The Zito's case was taken pro bono by the Pacific Legal Foundation.
This is, a classic example of government overreach and an instance where we hope that the government will do the right thing.
The legal team helped the Zitos file a federal lawsuit. PLF's lawyers argue if the government tells the Zitos they can't rebuild, the government must compensate them, citing the Fifth Amendment, which states no one shall, quote, be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. As for the Zitos, the family hasn't been back to the Outer Banks since the fire. They say it's too painful.
Now, the Zitos can't rebuild, but every quarter they still write checks to pay for property taxes on land the government says they can't build on. We'll continue to follow the Zitos story and the outcome of the federal lawsuit. I'm Kayla Gaskins, 10 on your side. And we are cutting into programming right now with breaking news tonight. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kayla Gaskins. Protesters are blocking I-264 in Norfolk going west towards the downtown tunnel. This is just before the Berkeley Bridge. You can see a bit of a haze over your screen, and that haze is from the tear gas that is being deployed to break up those protesters. Our reporter Brett Hall and our photojournalist that he is working with this evening, Jack Noonan, they are down there covering these protests on the ground. They've been out there for hours since before this thing even started. They are starting to feel the effects of that tear gas. Can't control where it goes, and it's going everywhere, and they're right there in the middle of the action. So they are moving further away and taking cover now. But from what they've told us of this evening, those protests, again, started out pretty peaceful. They even saw leaders in the police force that were out there with the protesters. Brett reported earlier this evening that they saw police officers kneeling with those protesters out there at the Virginia Beach ocean front tonight, and we've seen that at similar protests across the country. But then it was deemed an unlawful gathering because of the coronavirus. Any more than 10 people is considered an unlawful gathering. So after a couple hours of protest, the police decided it was time to break that up and for everybody to go home. And that's what you saw on your screen, police in riot gear and tear gas. Christy Dewar survived by barricading herself in an office with coworkers. She says she owes her life to her dear friend and colleague, Ryan Keith Cox, known by his friends and family as just Keith. He didn't make it out of Municipal Building 2 alive. Christy Dewar was sitting at her desk on the second floor of Municipal Building 2 last Friday when a little after 4 p.m.
and I heard pop, pop, pop.
The building is under construction, so she assumed it was a nail gun. She was wrong.
And Claudia screamed, "This is not a drill. This is real. Get out of the building now."
She grabbed her purse and ran. In the chaos, she saw her close friend, Keith Cox.
But he said, "Get in Lloyd's office now. Barricade the office. Get in there." And I said, "Come on, Keith." And he said, "I got to check on everybody else." And we closed and locked the door. We pushed the cabinet up against the door, and it was not too long after that Dwayne tried to come in, and he fired 4 shots. And I looked up, and 2 of the shots had almost come through the cabinet.
Eventually, the gunfire stopped, and the cops came to escort them to safety.
And Lloyd looked and said, "Keith is on the ground. Keith is on the floor." There were splintered wood all over the floor. Doors were busted off their hinges. One was just like hanging there. They couldn't down the south stairwell. And there was a body there. And I didn't know who it was, couldn't tell. And there's so much blood everywhere. And I started just shaking and crying just heaving, and the officer said, "You're strong, you can do this, you need to step over and come with me." And I was like, "I can't." He said, "Yes, you can." And then I found out later that the person I had to step over was one of my friends, Missy.
After the incident, she reached out to Keith's parents. She wanted to let them know how brave their son was.
If it wasn't for him, there would have been 7 more people that had perished. He was a hero. A guardian angel that walked this earth that didn't deserve to leave us so soon.
We'll have the full, raw, emotional interview with Christy Dewar posted to WAVY.com. I'm Kayla Gaskins, 10 on your side. Yeah, his cheer moves are quite impressive, and if you haven't seen the video yet, just wait for his high kick. And how good he is at the moves is likely one of the reasons people seem to love this video. His daughter is a cheerleader at York High School. She jokingly says her dad is better at cheer than she is. With 3 million views and counting, Hakili Holland is an overnight internet sensation.
This cheer dad, Hakili Holland, knows every word and every move to the York High Falcons fight song.
He does the kick too?
Yeah.
His 15-year-old daughter Mackenzie is on the team.
And I would watch them and try and mimic them, and I just was like, I can't get it.
He came in my room and said, "I'm not leaving your room until you teach me the fight song."
You know, she was like, "All right, let's go, Dad. You're gonna get it, and you're gonna get it right."
Get it right he did, after a few father-daughter practice sessions.
There were some parts that, was hard to get, like the kick, just timing of the kick is a little hard to get.
He started doing the routine from the stands. Fellow parents began to notice and began documenting the enthusiastic, surprisingly well-executed performance. This video was taken by Scott Willard during last Friday night's game. The views are in the millions and counting.
It's been exciting, it's been fun, it's been overwhelming, it's been all the above.
Holland is now getting calls from almost every major national news outlet.
It's shocking to friends and family of mine as well, because they're like, "What's so important? This is you all the time."
Perhaps most important, though, is the unintended effect this has had on the community. A reason to smile when they needed it most. The previous weekend, 3 16-year-olds from a rival school in the division, Tab High School, were killed in a car accident. The community came out by the thousands to the memorial that week. One of the boys killed played football for Tab. During Friday night's game, the York student section decked out in Tab's colors to show support and solidarity.
You've heard about, the sadness and the sorrow that we've had in the community, and if I can be that guy to bring an uplifting spirit to the community, I'm more than happy to do that. If the dancing and the video is what that is, then I'm happy to be that guy.
Well, the Hollands are also a military family. Haliki is in the Air Force, so he spends a lot of time away from home, which is why he goes all out, cherishing every moment he has with his family, like those Friday night football games, cheering on his cheerleader. I'm Kayla Gaskins, 10 on your side. Well, another week down, and hopefully it was a good one for you. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kayla Gaskins. Lots of love in the air with Valentine's Day, and also some bright spots in the news. First, a birthday celebration. Norfolk's iconic mermaids turned 20 years old this year. In 1999, a local sculptor created 130 mermaid castings. Local artists decorated them. Each mermaid takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months to create. Also this week, a special Valentine. A group of women gave boxes of chocolates to shelters and nonprofits that help women dealing with domestic violence. Deidre Moon collected donations from the community, then connected with local organizations like the Grow Foundation and the Her Shelter. And are you ready for Thin Mints, Samoas, and Do-si-do? More than 1 million boxes of Girl Scout cookies have hit the region. Starting today, Girl Scouts are out and about making sales. This year, Girl Scouts are donating cookies to members of the Coast Guard affected by the government shutdown. And that does it for this week's Good News segment. Thanks for watching, and look for another one next Sunday right here on WAVY.com.